Hey everybody, this is Andrew from Fancy Football. So the NFL season is literally just around the corner, and we're all trying to make our last minute adjustments before the season starts. This is going to be a list of 5 things you must do before week 1 starts. Let's get started. Before I give you immense pleasure with my tips, please like, comment, and subscribe on my video. Thank you. Let's really get started. If you own Ezekiel Elliott right now, my advice to you is to just not freak out. Everything is going to be fine. Ezekiel Elliott has so much more reason to come back and play this year than Melvin Gordon does. I'm filming this right now on September 3rd, and it seems like Ezekiel Elliott flew in from Cabo back to Dallas, and his agent and him are trying to get his deal done before week 1. Now, even if he gets his deal done this week, he still has to practice, and I'm not sure what kind of regiment Jason Garrett has for his running backs, or if maybe Zeke is just really familiar with the playbook already. But there's a good chance that it's just too late for him to play in week 1, in which case, if you picked up Tony Pollard before, that's a very viable fill-in for Zeke for a few weeks, even if this goes on past week 1. But even if this does end up going past week 1, do not freak out. Really don't freak out. The only reason Zeke is doing this is because of Todd Gurley from a couple years ago. The Rams decided to extend Todd Gurley 2 years before his contract was up. And at the time, that was met with a couple of raised eyebrows, but I would imagine the Rams felt like that they were securing the top running back for a pretty okay dollar amount. The Cowboys right now are having to deal with Zeke kind of trying to do the same thing, but with his own situation. Zeke actually has another whole year left on his contract, even if he doesn't get an extension right now. And his salary cap hit this year is already, I believe it's 5 or 6. So it's not really a situation where Zeke is just getting terribly underpaid. The Cowboys have the leverage in this situation, and Zeke knows that, and he's just strutting his stuff right now to maximize his value, as he should. He should try and get paid as much as he can, because of the shelf life of running backs in this league. So my number 1 advice, if you have Zeke, do not freak out. If you own Melvin Gordon, though, it is time to freak out. He is not going to play this year for the LA Chargers. Now, I know there has been talks that Melvin Gordon can potentially be traded, but it came out what the Chargers want for Melvin Gordon, and it's a steep price. It's a 1st rounder and a 5th rounder. That would actually be a pretty good price for Melvin Gordon if he had additional rookie contract years left on his deal. But because this is his last one, any team that trades for him is going to end up having to pay those draft picks, and on top of that have to pay him the market price that he wants in an extension. I do not believe a team is going to do that right now. And as for Melvin Gordon actually just playing this year with the Chargers, I think there are 2 big reasons why that's not going to happen. The first reason is because Le'Veon Bell was a martyr last year for running backs in Melvin Gordon's situation right now. There was actually a video of Melvin Gordon being really explicit in saying that he supported Le'Veon Bell's holdouts. So Melvin Gordon definitely took note of that for his contract situation that will be coming up the next year. And the second reason why he's not going to play for the Chargers this year is the biggest reason why he is holding out right now. And that is because he doesn't want to play on a contract that doesn't secure his future in case he gets injured. So if you believe me that Melvin Gordon is not going to play this year, what do you do? One of the things you can do to cut your losses is to try and trade him to someone who believes he is going to play this year. Now, I know I'm coming out pretty strong in saying that I feel like there's a very strong chance that he doesn't play this year, but I could be wrong, and that upside and hope might be enough for someone to want to take a risk on Melvin Gordon. I don't know about everyone's leagues, and obviously everyone's leagues are different, but I would try and set the bar low for Melvin Gordon and not get too insulted when you see some ridiculous offers for someone who I'm sure you got him for a lot in terms of draft capital, whether he was a high draft pick or you paid a good amount of auction money for Melvin Gordon. Number 2, and this is dependent on availability, but is to try and go for his backups, Austin Eckler and Justin Jackson. In 10-team leagues, it might just be shallow enough that those 2 players just aren't good enough to even cut it for your flex. But if you're in a deeper league, you might be able to recoup some of your lost value if you ended up drafting his handcuffs in your drafts. Justin Jackson actually is someone who could be a 3-down back, but his talent level obviously is not going to make it so that he can do that. So sorry to say, but if you do have Melvin Gordon, I'm sorry, but you need to cut your losses. If you feel like your team is strong enough to survive the first half of the season without Tariq Cohen, James White, T.Y. Hilton, or Calvin Ridley, or a player around that area, I would try and trade for AJ Green using one of those players to the AJ Green owner. In the games that AJ Green played last year when he was healthy, he had the ceiling of a top 10 receiver. He had his really big highs, and he always had a really consistent floor, averaging around 100 yards per game. Now, obviously, a lot of this depends on whether or not you believe in the health of AJ Green. But if you do, he is someone that I would try and take a risk on if my team is strong enough to survive the first half of the season. If you can maybe use one of those players I suggested earlier as somewhat of an investment, you're possibly getting a wide receiver 1 later on in the season. And as you know, those kind of moves are the things that win leagues. In the history of the NFL, there has never been a running back the size of Christian McCaffrey have the type of season he did in 2018 and then replicate that in the future years. It just hasn't happened before. Now, he might be a player that breaks the mold, and he can go on to just have just an amazing 15-year running back career as just the most versatile running back / pass catcher we've ever seen come out from the backfield. But barring that, I just do not think, compared to Alvin Kamara and Saquon Barkley, he has as much of a chance to have as good of a year as he did last year. Now, I know for a fact, based on some ranking sites and some mock drafts I've seen, that a lot of people consider Christian McCaffrey to be the #1 overall pick for this year. I think that is a huge mistake. I would use our brain, and knowing that we don't value Christian McCaffrey as high as Saquon or Alvin Kamara, I would try and use that to squeeze out maybe a little bit of value for Christian McCaffrey being the #1 overall pick while even getting the better running back. Maybe you can offer Christian McCaffrey to the Saquon Barkley owner for Saquon Barkley and CMC's teammate Curtis Samuel. Do you think maybe you can get that? Maybe you can get Alvin Kamara and Sammy Watkins. I think you might be able to get that with Christian McCaffrey. And if that's the case, that's the kind of value you should try and squeeze out for a market inefficiency that I think is a pretty glaring mistake. My last tip to everybody is to just enjoy this time before the season starts. This is the most optimistic you are going to be all year. We are all going to have some bad beats. We're all going to have some injuries. We're all going to lose to defenses that are played against us that get really random pick sixes. We're all going to lose to opposing field goal kickers having 5 field goal nuclear bombs played against us. All of that stuff is going to happen. So before the season starts, really close your eyes and think again why we play fantasy football. And that's because, we go through all this heartbreak throughout the year to try and win that trophy at the end of the year. And I hope everyone watching this has experienced that, but that is a really good feeling. And at the end of the day, all we try and do is give ourselves the best percentage to try and win our games every single week, hopefully leading to a championship. The majority of the strategy that you put into fantasy football is for the long term, but there are just so many short-term factors that affect our long-term game that it's going to get really frustrating. But it's okay. I just want you to know that I'm here with you. We are all here with you. So good luck to everybody on their season. Please subscribe to this channel. I will be making these videos every week, and I hope everybody wins their week 1 game.